president, along with Macron, had a productive meeting. He has sent a strong message to our European allies, and we have seen some changes and some positive shifts coming from our allies to pay more to NATO. We need their support.
I always prefer having direct discussion or answering questions than making my diplomacy through tweets. I do defend my people, I do defend my country, I do believe that we have a strong identity, but I'm a strong believer in cooperation between the different peoples. And I'm a strong believer of the fact that this cooperation is good for everybody.
French president responding to the president's tweets, basically. The President Trump tweeting out, Emmanuel Macron suggests building its own army to protect Europe against the U.S., China, and Russia. But it was Germany in World Wars I and II. How did that work out for France? They were starting to learn German in Paris before the U.S. came along, pay for NATO or not. The problem is that Emmanuel suffers from a very low approval rating in France, 26%, and an unemployment rate of almost 10%. He was just trying to get onto another subject. By the way, there is no country more nationalist than France. Very proud people, and rightfully so. And then ending with "Make France Great Again." We're back with the panel. Kimberly.
Yeah, well, you know, the president, he was off on probably the right point in the beginning, in that he was talking about this question of European defense, and there is a legitimate question there. It's in everyone's interest for Europe to take a bigger step toward protecting itself, but we do have this thing called NATO for it. European countries have failed to put their requisite amount of money in even to do that, so it's hard to see where you get from that to a freestanding European army. As is the president's wont, though, he went down yet another path and took some personal swipes at the French president. Probably not as productive, but this is how that president rolls.
James, it was a bromance when the French president came and visited Washington, D.C. Seems like it has cooled off a bit.
It has cooled off a lot, and now we have a lot of domestic politics taking place on the international stage. Clearly, Macron likes the idea that he's going to be this global leader, projecting France, actually, to a bigger stage, particularly given that Angela Merkel's position these days. And then, obviously, Trump is going to be Trump. But it did, obviously, begin to really deteriorate the moment that Trump pulled out of the Paris climate change agreement.
Matthew.
Well, I think Macron has to focus on being the leader of France before he can begin to be a leader of Europe or even globally. We have to go back and look at how this controversy started. First, Brett, Macron said that we needed this European defense force in order to distance ourselves from America. This was as the American president was on his way to France to celebrate, or rather to mark, the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. And then, in the midst of this solemn occasion, the French president went on again to more or less gratuitously insult the nationalism, so proclaimed, of President Trump. So if Macron knew what he was doing, because if there's one thing we know about Donald Trump, it's that he's a counterpuncher, and he won't leave any swipe unanswered. And so I think this has, as the president said, a lot to do with French domestic politics, where Macron is less popular in France than Donald Trump is in the United States, than it does any large geopolitical deal.
Right, standing up to the president. President Trump obviously is appealing to the French populace. Before we go, White House shakeup possibilities. A lot of reports, Kimberly, that John Kelly, the Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, maybe even the Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross are on their way out. This comes as after 38 Trump administration firings and resignations over recent months in the past couple of years. Thoughts on that? We've been down this road before.
Well, it is traditional at the end of, a period of time, and we just finished an election, for some people to exit. Of course, we haven't even made it 4 years, and that's quite an astonishing number that you just listed there. I think the other thing that makes us different in kind is that often when people leave, it's because they're wore out, they're tired, or they feel that they have completed their mission. A lot of these changes seem to be because of unhappiness the president has with specific members of the cabinet. That's certainly what we're hearing about in terms of Ms. Nielsen at Homeland Security, that he's not happy she isn't being more aggressive about enforcing his immigration demands. Of course, the problem with some of this is that the law is the law as well, too. We want cabinet officials that push back on the president and inform him of such things. So, I mean, this sort of disruption, never great for an administration.
Yeah, we've seen dead men and women walking before that never came to be. So we will put that caveat out there. Panel, thank you.